What's going on, everybody? It's your
Can't
boy
really see.
ptkblam back in the
You can really
building
tell when I was
with
muted.
another shop podcast, man. I haven't said that in many months. So shout out to everybody who's going to show up today watching us live. We appreciate the support, man. It's been a long while. I haven't been here in a long time. Obviously, it does feel familiar. I do miss all you guys. Had to take a little break, had to get myself together, but I was fiending to get the show back. And what a hell of a week to have a show, right? I came back at like the perfect time, seemingly, but obviously I got my friends here with me, my brothers, my family, got another family member in the house as well too, Mav, hanging out with us today. And once again, you guys retweet that link, let everybody know we're live. I know might not be a lot of people here today, but we still gonna have fun. We're just kind of getting things back rolling, man. But I appreciate everybody who does show up, who does retweet the link and watch the show later on a replay. You guys are fucking awesome. But let me go around the panel. I got to tap in with my brothers. I haven't talked to them. Well, I've talked to them, but I haven't talked to them in this setting in a few months, so I got to tap back in with them. We're gonna just start with the guest real quick. Mav, not really a guest, my cousin Mav, man. Glad to have you on. How you doing, brother? Glad to have you back. Glad to be here, man. Back in this setting. How you been?
Doing good, man. Sorry, right when you started the show, I forgot that I didn't have my mic muted.
It's all good, brother. No worries.
As I were talking over you, but hey, it's awesome to have you back, man. We recently came back as well because we had a little bit of a hiatus there for a while. Now you're back to starting to have kind of regular cadence of shows between, shop podcasts, fun speculation podcasts, all those other kind of things starting to be pretty awesome there. Lots of crazy stuff to talk about though, man, because I'll tell you, like when we decided to take our breaks or whatever, it decided that, hey, we were the glue that was holding the industry together, PTK.
Right?
I don't know what's happened. Yeah, I don't know.
That's
man.
exactly the energy I should have. I didn't think about that, man. You might be right.
Yeah, I think especially you've been doing this like 8 years, something like that. So you disappear, and all of a sudden it's like, well, all the Xbox, we gotta lay off everybody and shut down some games. Like we'll find the ones PTK was excited about. He doesn't care about he's not even talking about them anymore. So we'll just cancel those ones. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been pretty crazy, but lots of stuff to talk about, lots of stuff to look forward to, and happy to be here with my brothers, all three of you.
For sure, man. Glad to hear your voice and, have you back. You took a little bit of a break too, man. But like you said, we're back, man. So right when they needed us, we showed up, right?
Absolutely.
But appreciate you just being here, brother. Always love having you on the show, man. You're freaking amazing. You already know that. You know how I feel about you, bro. And I'm sure the people that are going to be watching it are happy to see you here as well, too. So glad to have you back in the fold. But my brothers, man, my brothers. It's been a hell of a week. Been going for a little while, but Pong, how you been? I miss you, bro. I know we still talk, but still in this setting, bro, it's been a while. I miss you, man.
Yes, sir. It's great to be back on a Sunday night. What a week to return to podcasting with you, PTK, of course, and great to hear Fuzzy's voice as well. Have not been able to podcast as much with Fuzzy without having the shop podcast, and obviously Mav also being on hiatus. So yeah, man, it feels freaking great, man. To kind of get back in the normal swing of things, having a Thursday night show. Of course, Steele and I have been still rocking on Saturdays, but now to have the shop back as well. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about. A whole cornucopia of news, and like I called it this week on X, I said this is a fascinating circus. This industry is never dull. No matter what you want to say about it, I can be upset and disappointed and frustrated like I was this week, but at the same time, I am thankful that this is the hobby we've chosen to talk about because there's always something to talk about. So
you stole my whole flow right there, because that's exactly where I was at. I've gone through stages throughout the week as the days have gone by, and that's as of today. You just described exactly where I'm at. So, right? Ironically,
that's why we do this. That's why we do this, and obviously great to have Mav here too again with us to kick off the new start, the return of the shop podcast. So yeah, let's get down to business, man. Normally I'd have you something to sell, but my life is really busy, real life right now as well. I'm playing a lot of shit, like a lot of different games. Good, man. But I'm all over the place, and I'm playing a lot of old stuff too that people are like, what are you talking about? That ain't exciting. But Stellar Blade, I guess, is probably one of the newer ones that I am still rocking out on. It's freaking amazing. It's a beautiful game. I hope it does get to come to Xbox like Helldivers 2, which we're probably going to talk about. Definitely. I hope Stellar Blade does get to come to Xbox because I would like the Xbox only guys guys to have a chance at this one too, because it's not just a Gooner game. Despite the rumors, despite what everybody wants to call it, it's not just about Eve and the rest of the girls looking good. The action, the combat itself is freaking fantastic, along with the world. So I hope more people get to enjoy it. But that's probably the newest one that I've been playing that lately. Of course, I've tried some other stuff too as well. But yeah, I'm back on Forza too, by the way. What a time to be back on Forza Motorsport. I dropped back in about a month ago. I think Mav's been dropping back in too, and then we find out, well, yeah, that's going to be on hiatus for a while as well. But anyways, we'll get into all that.
Glad to hear you, though, man. I need that energy, man. I appreciate you being here, brother, and, I missed you guys so much, brother. So, yeah, it's, like you said, it's good to get some regularity back, and, the shows are kind of lining back up. Mav's back, so everything seems to be lining back up. But, yeah, brother, appreciate you being here. And my last but not least, my brother Fuzzy Belvedere, man. How you been, bro? Glad to hear from you. Glad to see you. Although we do talk regularly, but still in this setting, it's been a while, brother.
Oh, yeah. Glad to be back. Glad to be here with you guys. Pretty much my second family. So love the fact that we're going to talk about some gaming stuff that happened. And it's like, yeah, this is the perfect time to come back because, man, so much has happened. Like, I don't even recognize half the stuff these days. It's like, just hold your breath for a little bit. News will change some more, or some more good news or bad news piled on top of good news. Or, yeah, it's been interesting. Been just playing a little bit of everything. I don't know if I got to mention this on the previous, shop, but got a Switch 2. Not a Nintendo fan. I'm a Sega kid, but figured get the Switch anyway. And I'm kind of waiting for Donkey Kong Bonanza. The Mario Kart isn't bad, but it's not. I know people are going to probably clown me for this, but it's not Forza Horizon. But I was hoping for kind of that open world blend in a kart racer, and it's kind of that, but not really. So. It is what it is, but man, just glad to be here. We got a lot to dig into. Some very interesting things have happened, and some unfortunate things have happened. And some of the stuff is kind of close to home, and some of it's worse than expected. But we'll get into it.
So let me get this straight. We take a break and Fuzzy becomes a Nintendrone. Okay.
All kinds of things have changed. Listen, this is the first time I'm hearing Tupong. This is the first time I'm hearing.
How many years have we been gone? Did I just wake up in 2030? What are we doing?
East is west, north is south.
Right. The poles have flipped. Half the country's underwater now. And geez, oh man, Fuzzy's a Nintendrone.
Oh my God! Yeah. Take me back, please. Whatever capsule I popped out of, I want to go back. So yeah, man, it's just good to hear from all my brothers, man. Glad to have all of you here. Shout out to everybody in chat. What's up, Blue? What's up, Thatch? What's up, Jesse Darby? Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Let everybody know we are back live, so come in here, hang out with us. But like they said, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. It's been a very, very interesting week. I should say all caps on that, all capital, interesting, to say the least. So I guess we'll just start with that, right? So I don't even need to really introduce this. Everybody know what the hell is going on. I don't even need to set up for this like I normally would. It's been an interesting week for Xbox, and I want to get everybody's opinion on it. I know you guys have been on other shows throughout this week, Mav, Pong, Fuzz as well, talking about this, and I just kind of want to let you guys know where I'm at with all of this. You know what I mean? Since I haven't really gotten to speak on this stage. I went through this stage. I don't say stages of grief, Pong, like you mentioned earlier, kind of a degenerative kind of as things go along. But it's just realization for me, because on one hand, I completely understand. I'm never for corporate greed. I'm never for layoffs. All that stuff is always bad, no matter if it was Xbox or Ford or whatever company it might be. I'm never for any of that stuff. But being the fact that this is Microsoft, Xbox specific, obviously I'm paying a little bit more attention, and the fallout was just much more than I expected. Now, does that mean I'm going to jump out of the Xbox ecosystem? Probably not. I thought about it, not thought about jumping out, but I really sat myself down and said, is this something that I'm just gonna am I okay with this? Am I not? Do I not want to do this anymore? Like, can I continue to support Xbox? And I just found like that I can. I still found value in the ecosystem, even though everything crazy is going on. No, I don't know what the future holds for Xbox. Do I hope it's still around in 5-10 years? I really do. Well, do I know if it will be? I don't know. I don't know. But one thing I do know as a gamer is that, we've been through these periods before. I made it through the red ring of death. I thought that was the worst thing possible at the time. Then 2013 showed up. I made it through that with Xbox, and I thought that was about as bad as it gets. And here we go, another phase, So I don't really know, what the future holds. I'm still here, though. I'm still here, and that's kind of where I settled at. Even with all of the uneasiness, all of the foundation essentially being shaken, trust being shaken. Am I a little bit more apprehensive going forward? Yes, I am. But ultimately, I still found value in the ecosystem. But let me just go around the panel here, get everybody's quick opinion. I want to start with you on this one, Mav, about just the fallout, everything that happened. And to be fair, there's going to be more things that we hear about this. The fallout from this will be like throughout the rest of the year. We'll still get articles and news about other devs and this person and that person is happening. So we don't quite know the full fallout, but obviously just going to reverberate throughout the year. But where you at as it sits today, Sunday, Mav?
Well, yeah, it's been interesting. I would say the fallout has been interesting.
Hello? Is Mav there?
Yeah, I can hear him. I can hear him.
Okay.
Yeah,
I heard like a big clank.
Okay, there he goes.
Okay.
Yeah, there he goes. All right.
That's weird. That's weird how you can hear you, but not me. I don't understand.
Yeah, that was weird. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, you're good, man. Yeah, I would say the fallout itself has been like really interesting to see. I mean, we all knew that there was going to be some layoffs and stuff. We didn't really know how deep it's going to go or what it was going to be. We were talking about this the other day on our show, and kind of with Xbox and how and because it's part of Microsoft, how they're doing these like waves of layoffs, right? It's like one big chunk at one time, so it feels like way more impactful as opposed to like other companies like maybe like a Ubisoft or like like PlayStation has been doing or whatever, where you're just constantly every couple months it seems like a new studio closure or new game cancellation and all these other kind of things, right? So I think those things have been ongoing in the industry, and to have Microsoft, all of a sudden it's like, hey, this is coming because like they've had really good momentum, but then all of a sudden this is happening and everybody's like, whoa, what was that? Why do we have all of this at once? And I think it's just part of the style that Microsoft has, and because it's big tech, and this is affecting way more than just Xbox as well. So I've seen a lot of the fallout, and I've seen a lot of people running with 9,000 employees and all this other kind of stuff, which is crazy. But it's like the gaming community just takes that number and refers it to Xbox in a way. Whereas I think it's probably a smaller amount of that whole 9,000 is actually
definitely
the part of the Xbox side. It's still horrible. I mean, we have games that I was super excited for. I was this entire generation. We've been, or ever since the ZeniMax acquisition, we've been speculating about what that ZeniMax Online MMO was going to be, right? And to find out it was going to be like a cyberpunky or Blade Runner-esque kind of looter shooter online. Like that could have been awesome. So I was disappointed to finally see what it is. At the same time that I know I'm not going to get it. Perfect Dark was another one I was super excited for. Everwild, I take it or leave it. It's not one that I was going to try for sure. Same. When it came out to see, hey, it could have grabbed me. Who knows, right? But it's still not like Xbox is like gone to me or something like that. Whereas I've seen a lot of the reactions from people how this changes everything or something, because really it's like it's really not any different than the trajectory that they were already going on. This is part of the streamlining process that they've been going through, and it sucks. But the whole industry's been doing that at the same time, right? So
can Can I elaborate on that before you continue? Because that's kind of where I've settled at as well too. Part of me, obviously, and like I started with, nobody likes layoffs. So having all of that information, I'm glad you pointed that out too, that it was just a big dump. So it felt like, holy shit, this is a lot of information. This is all of this is happening at once. So I think that, the equal reaction was due to it being such a big dump rather than kind of gradual, like, oh, here's a game here. And then 3 months later, it's a studio here. And then 3 months later, it's 200 people, like more of a gradual situation. On top of the fact that you're right, I do think people are taking the opportunity to kind of dump on Xbox. And listen, Xbox has done enough to dump on themselves. There's plenty of blame to go to Xbox, but I think some of it has been a little excessive. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. Like you said, I think we understand we have to, if you're going to be like, we're not part of the industry, but I'd say we're closer to the industry than the average gamer. You know what I mean? Just because we're content creators, we're in, we kind of are in the news. We're always trying to figure out what's going on. But you got to also understand, Mav, that this is kind of a cycle of the industry, right? Like this is, unfortunately, has been accelerated the last 3 to 5 years, right? We're getting more layoffs seemingly as of late, but this is part of kind of how things go, unfortunately, right? So that's kind of where I settled at what you just said. Like I am upset about some of the things that are going on, but I also understand that this kind of just happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not just, I mean, this isn't like necessarily a Xbox problem. Like this is where they're like super unhappy with the business, so everything's got to change, and like they're going to shut it. Like this is a larger Microsoft and big tech and contraction of the tech industry, and Microsoft having Xbox be such a big part of it now. They're going to have that run through that organization as well. Yeah, you could say, well, if they were just going gangbusters and like insanely profitable in every single division and every studio, yeah, maybe some of them are more safe, right? But ultimately that's just not the reality of that business and that industry. Even though profits are up, revenues are up, engagement is up, all that other kind of stuff that they talk about within Xbox, they're still looking for that to be even bigger than it was and keep growing and all this other kind of stuff. So but they're looking through that through the entire organization. I think, as I've seen some of the articles come out from some about their push to AI and looking to kind of move some investments within the company to, towards that's going to always have an impact as well. So overall, like it's just, it's not as big of a deal as I think it's being made out to be, just because it is all at once and we have a bunch of bad news all at once. But ultimately in the long run, it's really not changing what was already happening, in which I had started to see a lot of excitement about that leading up to the announcements that there was going to be layoffs. Like the community was starting to really embrace and get behind the idea of the hybrid console future where multiple storefronts, the partnership with AMD, next gen, all these games that they have in development, which they still have plenty. Doesn't mean that they're all going to stay, right? But they're also probably going to be new ones invested in as well, right? So ultimately long term, like it's nothing that's just happened takes away from my excitement with it. But I do have questions over Turn 10 and Forza and Forza Motorsport franchise, which is the biggest thing for me right now. Like really love that franchise. I love racing games. I wonder what kind of moronic decision it is to who made that decision to just say, hey, we're going to like stop making Forza Motorsport games for a while. Or whatever they decided. I don't even know, but half of that staff laid off after everything that they've done to build probably the greatest racing franchise in history, I would argue. And now solely focus on Horizon, which, that's bringing the money. But I don't know, like for me, motorsport was the foundation of that. And I wanted to see them keep investing in it. So we'll see what happens with that franchise. But ultimately, that's like the most curious I am about everything is like what's going to happen with Forza Motorsport. That's because that's one of their pillars, man. That's one of their that's one of their pillars. Like Halo's a pillar, Forza's a pillar. Gears we could argue Fable. We'll see what happens with it, but
Yeah.
like Halo, Gears, and Forza, especially, like that's Halo, Gears, and Forza, and it was built upon Forza Motorsport, not Horizon.
Yes,
like
true.
the Horizon didn't exist until end of 360 era, going into Xbox One, right? Like before that, we had like 5 motorsport games before Horizon even existed, and like Halo, Gears, and Forza, man, like to see them talk about that, or to see the reports about that's the most disappointing thing.
Got it. Okay. And that's understandable too. Like I said, I knew you and Fuzz. I have a lot to say about that in particular, man, the Forza stuff. Because like you said, it's just odd because they kind of do their own thing. They've been excellent at their job. Every time they get called on to make a Forza, it's always, they make those games with so much passion. They're so creative. They're so good at it. You would think that would be one part, you know what I mean? That would be one studio that you don't really need to do much with, or you don't need to go in and cut half of the workforce. So it does seem extremely odd. I think the other odd one is that in the entire time Initiative's been around, they haven't gotten a single game out, not even a indie game, not even like a side project game. And you've been around forever, like 7-8 years now, and you couldn't get one game out. Now that might be Booty's fault. I don't know who to blame for that specifically, but that's another one that baffles me as well too. You couldn't get a game out the door, and you were built from the ground up. Remember when they started that, it was a quadruple A studio. When they had the guy from Insomniac and all, those guys that, they started the studio with, and they couldn't get anything out the door. So, obviously management's going to get a lot of focus. I expect people to talk a lot about the mismanagement, I would say, of some of these studios and some of these games. But yeah, I agree with you, Mav. There's some very specific things about everything that happened that rubs me the wrong way. You're right about the Forza one. Like I said, the Initiative, that didn't make any sense either, because what else were you doing? You weren't doing anything else but making Perfect Dark. So it wasn't like you had 3 projects going and, we got this game that we already put out. Like there was nothing going on over there.
For me too, like though Perfect Dark was the one that I was really looking forward to because I wanted to see that franchise come back. But at the same time, like if for all the studios that could have been closed, like at least it's one I haven't ever played one of their games before.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. So
silver lining,
I don't want to be heartless, but like it was a smaller studio, and I've never played one of their games, so I don't know what ultimately what it was going to be capable of. It's different than like Tango GameWorks when they had announced that and stuff. And speaking of that, I gotta say something else real quick before we move on to the other guys. Sorry guys, I'm taking up all the time. But I've seen a lot of like weird people just go after Game Pass again with this whole thing. It's like, why do like either like devs that have some kind of agenda against Game Pass, like the Baldur's Gate guy they don't even put their games, they haven't put their Baldur's Gate in Game Pass anyway, so I don't even know why he keeps talking about it, and other people that decide they don't like it, whatever, all of a sudden say that this is Game Pass's fault.
It's open season now for Xbox.
This has nothing to do with it, man. Like it has nothing to do with what's going on in the larger Microsoft tech giant shifting to AI, making lots of layoffs and forcing basically Xbox and them to make horrible cuts within their division to get more streamlined. Like that has nothing to do with Game Pass in and of itself. And like it just seems like there's these agenda-based people that are always looking for any opportunity to go after that business model of subscription-based gaming. And now that there was something we all knew was coming, like why aren't they saying, hey, when PlayStation closes a studio and shuts that down, why aren't they saying, oh, $70 games was a bad idea? Right? Like why weren't they saying that? There's it's nothing. It's just an agenda-based thing when they go after Game Pass when there's bad news regarding Xbox or a studio or anything like that. So I'm just sick of seeing that, man. It's weird.
It's open season, man. People feel obligated. Now Xbox is down. Essentially, the media is talking about them. They're not looking favorable in the public light right now. So, people get a bit more emboldened about those things, man. Like, you know what? I think it's time to start talking about Game Pass and how bad that is. Like, since everybody's already talking about all this negative stuff about Xbox, let me throw that in too. But I feel you. I saw that too. And I was going to get to that. I was hoping we would get to that after the fellas went too, because I did as well and peep that people trying to like throw Game Pass in the mix as well too. But Pong, I am very, very interested to see what you have to say about this, kind of hear your opinion. I know you've already talked about this on like 2 or 3 different shows, but I still want to see, where you're at on all of this, brother, because I know you have a very strong opinion. You've always felt a certain way about the type of business Xbox has done, and you've accepted a lot of the things that they've done. You've been more than fair and favorable. So I'm just curious, bro, where you're at on all of this, man, with the fallout and just the future.
Well, it's complex. Because obviously it got more complex as the week went on. As the stories came out that this is potentially all Satya and Amy Hood based on their AI investing. So you could look at that. Again, this is the thing that I've always worried about, obviously, with Microsoft is the shiny ball effect. They've done this in the past. They're not Google per se, and how many things Google has tried and then dropped out of, but there is a long list of things that Microsoft has heavily invested in and dropped completely, right? Anybody remember purchasing Nextel? I'm sure you all do. So, they've got a history of doing this, and AI is the latest and greatest thing. And gaming was huge for them during the pandemic because they thought they were going to make Game Pass, get 50, 70, 100 million subscribers as we saw the internal numbers gold. And that never happened, right? Never caught on. The studios fell behind due to the pandemic, weren't putting out product. Console sales suffered because of that. And it was just kind of a downhill from there as far as how things have gone since 2020 in terms of shareholders and what Satya and people at the top believe. You can see it. And then obviously we know they've transformed a complete 180 into a third-party publisher halfway through a generation, which nobody expected, right? So there's been a lot to that. And now AI is the new big thing. And I've talked a lot about the AI. So that's one piece of it that I do have to keep in mind, that a lot of this potentially, again, none of us are in the show, nobody out here. We have a bunch of people who like to act like they're all in these boardrooms and they all know for sure and that their opinions are better than everybody else's. But the facts are we're all speculating here based upon the news and the information. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is something I started talking about late last year, and that is that the AAA space is bloated. The decision makers at the top and the middle management have made piss poor decisions over the past 5 to 8 years that have led to a lot of what we are seeing in the video game space specifically. Now, the tech industry itself bloated during the pandemic. Everybody got hired, blah, blah, blah. We all know the drill. But the AAA space is an unwieldy monster at this point that nobody has control of. When we hear Battlefield 6 has already surpassed $400 million in budget, this is dumb. Yeah. This is dumb. Okay, this is dumb and ridiculous. AAA space has forgotten how to make games. Not to say that they're not putting out games, for sure. Of course they are. That's not what I'm saying. But they forgot what the old days were like. They all decided at the top that they needed 500 people working on a game with 200, 300, 400, 500. Hey, in the case of Grand Theft Auto, maybe $1 billion budgets. Okay, that's not how you make video games. And the AA space and the indie scene have been showing them up. So I started talking last year that a contraction probably was going to be necessary. Now it sucks because the little people are the ones that get hurt in all this, right? The little people, meaning the devs, are the ones that lose their jobs. This is a volatile industry, has been a volatile industry for a very long time. I hate it. I hate that the little people have to lose their jobs. But if we're being realistic, there's too many people in this industry, and it's not sustainable. It is everybody from Sony to Xbox have said it, to Ubisoft, to EA, to all these companies have said it's not sustainable. Now, you could sit back and say, well, if they cut their bonuses at the top, then maybe they could afford a few more people, blah, blah, blah. Sure, that's easy to say, but it never happens. And it's not going to happen now. Yeah. So again, when we look at the the realism of the situation, this contraction was necessary in the AAA space, and it's going to happen to others. It's going to continue to happen. This isn't the end for Xbox either. That's why I am being very cautious going forward here about my hype levels for Xbox, because I don't think they're done. And Microsoft could need more money for AI because they are now behind because their relationship with OpenAI is crumbling apart. So they might need more funding for AI, and they're going to pull from all their divisions again, and we could see more cuts cuts at Xbox because Xbox is huge. Let's be real. Mav brought it up. It's something that I talked about with him on Thursday, something I talked about with Steel on Saturday. It feels worse when Xbox does it because they're one of the world's largest, if not the world's largest publisher, right? So it feels worse because when they cut, there's more stuff being cut. People, IP, studios, etc. There's more that is done at one time. And that's why it feels worse. And I knew it was going to be bad. When the rumor started, I believed them. I didn't know it was going to be this bad. The big thing for me, that all being said, again, it's complex. It is business. It's easy for me to sit back, pull myself away, and say big business don't give two shits about anybody's feelings. This is how corporate works. This is what they do. Sorry, like that's it. It's business.
Yeah.
As the gamer, right? As the gamer, the biggest loss for me here is the IP. Whether it's studio closures or whether it's canceled games. It is IP that we are never going to, probably more than likely 99%, never see again, never hear from again. For me as the gamer, it's the new experiences that I'm not going to get, like the ZeniMax Online game, which we are now finding out some really amazing stuff. And I want to cross my fingers and hope that this is the 1% where Phil looks at the game that he was playing and supposedly loving and finds a way to find the money elsewhere that Satya and Amy asked for him and puts this one back on the table into ZeniMax Online and let them finish this over the next couple of years, because man, does it sound exciting.
Good question about that too. Before you move on,
Yeah.
so they didn't actually lose any of that team? Did they lose this ZeniMax
No.
Online team that was making
No.
that game? Was it just they lost the game?
No. They just
So they didn't
canceled
lose
the
any of the
game.
talent.
We don't know.
Okay,
I did
okay.
not. There was no mass layoff at ZeniMax Online. Right? They were hiring people up to a couple weeks ago for this game specifically. Right? So I don't know if some of the current hires did get let go, like some of the people that they just hired, maybe. But no, there was 200 people working on this game. But that was a big part of their main team that was always working on ESO. Now, what happens after this is the question, because now they don't have a project other than ESO. So now what do you do with all these people, right? Now maybe you move them around. Maybe there's other stuff that you could put them on. Again, that's all the stuff that we don't necessarily always hear about. We always hear about the cuts, but we don't necessarily hear about the people moving around. But again, for me, it's just the IP. Perfect Dark was coming back, right? Perfect Dark was coming back after decades of layoff. Perfect Dark was one of the IP. You guys have heard me complain about every other company with this. This is Sony, this is Xbox, this is all these big companies. They all have all of this fantastic IP sitting in the closets not being used, right? It sits there and collects dust. This is legendary IP that they just let rot in their closets and never pull out, never sell to anybody else to work on, never do anything. That's what happened to Joanna Dark and Perfect Dark, right?
Yeah.
That's what was happening to it. And they finally got the balls to come back with it and redo it, retool it, re-envision it for current modern day, but give us another game in a underutilized genre, sci-fi, spy, right? All that stuff that we just don't get, right? We don't get Splinter Cell anymore, although we'll see if that ever comes back. Again, Ubisoft is working on it, but we'll see if that comes to light of day. Right? Deus Ex got canceled. The new one that they were planning on doing got canceled because of Embracer Group's problems, right? So we don't get espionage, spy, sci-fi kind of thrillers. And so this is, and I'm not getting into detail because I know you're probably going to want to talk about these things maybe specifically, but I'm just saying overall, for me, it's the loss of those games, because once they pull the plug on that, they're never going to go back to Perfect Dark. They're never going to go back to Perfect Dark ever again. The other part about this, like I said, it's complex. The other part, besides the contraction, is that now that they are a third-party publisher, right? Now that they are leaning into that, that changes things. They are, as part of the contraction, whether it was demanded by Satya because of the AI, or whether this was going to be a natural kind of course that they were going to take anyways, they're trimming down to become lean and mean third-party publisher. They are going to take less chances because they're not creating games to be exclusive in their ecosystem, to give themselves a diverse lineup in Game Pass like we saw previously. Game Pass is still going to exist. I don't believe it's going anywhere for the time being. Do I think it's going to be forever? No, I don't think it's going to be forever. I think eventually they'll probably will get rid of it or price it so ridiculously high that it's kind of just exclusive club time. But I do think for the time being it's here. And again, like I've said, I'm going to ride it until the wheels fall off. But they don't have they don't have that mentality anymore that they're trying to create this diverse Game Pass lineup that is going to attract a bunch of people. That's kind of gone by the wayside because they realized they weren't turning enough people into me, the grazer that wants to play all those games. They weren't able to do that. So now they're not going to have all these little small projects, in my opinion. If South of Midnight was not finished, I think Compulsion Games would have been closed, and I think South of Midnight would have been canceled. Thankfully, they got that out the door, but I don't think that would have been allowed to survive in the current day, what Xbox just went through, because I don't think they need those types of games anymore. They're going to focus in, just like the EAs, just like the Ubisofts, as bad as this is to sound, and I hope I'm wrong, but they're going to focus in on the big, consistent IP that they know will work. They're going to take less risks with IP. They're going to look at making newer games less frequently, if it's at all, with new IP. I think that's one of the reasons why ZeniMax Online Games was dropped, was because it was a new IP, no guarantee, no matter how good it was looking. It's going to be a tough uphill battle. MMO costs a lot of money to upkeep. That one I think was strictly financial, but because it was a new IP. So I think that this is also part of the plan that was eventually going to happen anyways, that they're going to get rid of a lot of things and focus in on the bigger games, the bigger IP that they already know will make them money on all platforms, because that's now how they're thinking. They're not just thinking attract people to Game Pass. They're not just thinking, oh, we just got to sell the Xbox and PC. Now they're thinking, we got Nintendo, we got Sony, we got to sell to all those people. Which games are going to sell the best on all of these platforms so that we don't spread ourselves too thin with projects? And I think that's a part of this as well. So again, it's sad. It's disappointing. It's frustrating for me. I think that if any of this, and we don't know, Jason Schreier said that Perfect Dark was in development hell. He said that Everwild was in development hell. If any of these closures, if any of this stuff was because of development hell, or because they didn't get the games out fast enough, or taking too long, or whatever, Booty should be exiting stage left. I
already knew where you were going with that.
I made a post about this. I protected Booty for a long ass time.
Yeah.
I actually did. I actually said that give Booty a chance. I thought Booty had it in him. I don't anymore. I think Booty's a yes man. I think that's why he's still around, is he doesn't put up a stink. I think that he obviously does what he's asked of him, and he sticks around. He gets promoted. But as a studio manager, I am now firmly on the side that he sucks, and he is not the hand that you need directing studios. I like the hands-off approach for a certain period of time with these studios to allow them to be creative, but there is a time, and again, this is all of AAA, that a lot of AAA spaces have lost this. There is a time where it is time to get down to business. There is a time where it's time to make a game. Everwild, over 10 freaking years, and they were having company parties, posting it on social media, talking about how proud of their solar farm they were, how green our company is, meanwhile living off of the Sea of Thieves golden ticket like that was going to last forever, and never putting out anything worthwhile. Booty should have been all over them years and years ago to get their shit together and make it happen. And from my point of view, that was one of the pieces that's been missing in this whole thing. Again, that's where I'm at. I've defended the dude, but if there's one of the heads that again, I think there should be more than one head that rolls at the top here because all the decisions, but I think Booty's is the one that I would say for sure he should be exiting stage left after all this is said and done. 100%.
Yeah. I had that. I talked to, shout out to Blue, who's in chat right now. Me and him had a discussion on a party chat the other night about Matt Booty specifically, and that's why I talked about the Initiative situation. How do you go that now? To be fair, when they started, he wasn't in that position. When Initiative got here, when they formed that studio, he wasn't where he's at now in that position, but he is now. You know, he has been the last few years, and like, it's just malpractice that you have that studio, all that talent, all that time, all that money, and not even a side project came out of the initiative. Not even a small game. Like, yeah, we're just going to put this out because we haven't done anything. We had 10 people working on it. Let's see how well this does. Not even a side project. Your entire focus was Perfect Dark, and nothing has come out of that. So I agree to a point, and I agree that it is extremely complicated. And it'll probably only get more complicated as time goes on. For sure. I feel you though, Pong. I'm 1,000% with you on that one, brother. It's a tough thing to go through, and ironically though, whether it's good or bad, we kind of have been through this before. You know, not exactly this, Pong, but these events that happen. It seems like every generation we get one with Xbox. At least the last 3. We get something that we all scratch our heads like, what the hell is going on?
Because they've been doing something different. Because they've been doing something different each generation, right? That's the deal. They've been changing so much that, of course, absolutely, the focus has altered each and every single generation. Like that's like, it's wild to think about, but there's no other company that's been like that, right? That has shifted their focus and their business model as much as Xbox has over the past 3 generations for a variety of different reasons, right? It's crazy. It is
and
crazy.
It's funny because the PlayStation's slowly doing the same. You know, I know that might be something that we'll talk about.
Yeah,
I mean, they're dipping the toes in a little bit and like, I mean, obviously they're not nearly in the position that Xbox is. They're not doing exactly that. But they're kind of teasing a little bit some things and making changes too along the way because they have to. And that's another thing too that I don't want people to forget, Pong. And I know you highlighted this. There has to be change in industry for you to survive. You have to do different things, and sometimes it is necessary to make these changes. Not necessarily what they just did by laying off 9,000 people, but hell, you could even probably throw that in there too. You have to innovate. You have to change. What was going on with the Xbox wasn't working at the time. And so they had to make the change. You couldn't. The old model wasn't working. Just relying on console sales. It wasn't doing it for them. So they had to figure it out.
We can talk about. I mean, they never got a shot. Right? They got all these. They made all these big purchases, and then they pulled the plug. Like they never got again. They never competed one for one with Sony once they made all the acquisitions. That's the thing that was most frustrating for all of us.
They spent an entire generation playing catch up too. They lost like 8 years in the front of that Xbox One, and like you said, that Phil came out and said that was the one we probably shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, but that's another excuse too. But see, I've never liked Phil that either too. That's an excuse. I've never, and I've said that plenty of times. Again, Phil's cemented for me his legacy. Like I'm never going to take that away from him. I've never been the fire Phil guy. Like we wouldn't even be talking about Xbox if it wasn't for Phil. So he's cemented. The shine's off for me as far as how this is ending now. But again, I still give Phil his flowers because he kept Xbox above the water and convinced Satya basically by himself that he could do this. So, but the point being is I never liked that we lost this generation. People sold their consoles back in the day and their entire catalog and never looked back again for the next generation. We sold our entire system and all of our games to get the next generation. We gave up our libraries every single time. This idea that everybody is so attached to the digital library is so bullshit. I gave up my entire PS4 library. I got over 250, 300 games on PlayStation that I have no access to right now. I gave it all up, right? People don't think about their digital libraries, whether it's music, books, movies, the same way you do when you have a physical copy in front of you. It's a lot easier mentally to give it up. Now, again, there's some truth to what he was saying, but the frustration that a lot of us had, PTK, was that they made all this work. Phil talked about all these purchases that they were making. All these purchases were for bringing exclusives to wherever Game Pass was, his famous line, right? Wherever Game Pass is, that's where we're bringing the content. They made all these purchases, ending it with ABK, and as soon as ABK was done, pulled the rug out. Never going one for one, never allowing their studios to get up to speed to start seeing the cadence that we are getting right now and see if they could make a dent in Sony leading into the next generation to maybe make up ground that they lost. Not necessarily take over, be number one, but to be competitive yet again. But again, that's neither here nor there. It's spilled milk at this point. They changed their entire thing. But that is the part that we never got to see, which is kind of sad in a lot of ways because a lot of us believe they could have done it. They could have competed. Anyways.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. Let me go ahead and let Fuzz get in here too. Fuzz, man. Once again, you've heard all of our conversations, our debates, arguments. You've seen everything going on social media with the Xbox, and obviously, Mav and Pong just made the point about Xbox, constantly changing and as they say, innovating. They would say that's kind of the corporate word, but it's just basically a glamorous word for changing. And these haven't always paid off for Xbox, and then this situation goes down. So kind of where you at with just Xbox at this point, man, going forward, their future, just where you at ultimately.
Well, there's one area that I'm a little disappointed in, where some people for the operating system for the handheld were let go. That was probably the biggest thing I was excited for moving into this next generation. And if they're letting part of that team go,
the in-house handheld.
Well, not the in-house, just the software for it.
Oh, software in general.
The software that's going to be on the Ally, the software that's going to be potentially on another handheld or any handheld in place of Windows 11. So part of that team was let go. And
you know how many from that team, Fuzzy, or was it?
I didn't pry into how many, but a handful, enough that people with devices were having to wipe them. So, but that was not as well. I would say that was probably the bigger disappointment that isn't getting talked about, because those individuals that were let go are not going to bring that stuff up. They're not going to go to Jez or any of the media about it. It's going to be one of those things we'll find out with updates and things like that to those that's in the insider program. But that's probably the area I'm most disappointed in. But going to turn 10, it's sad to see, but it's understandable, especially considering they've had a target on their back ever since they delayed Motorsport. It has been an uphill battle, and I've said my 2 cents about it in other places about the ground up aspect. I'm torn, because when you say you're going to do something from the ground up, you have to make management well aware that that's going to be time consuming. That's not something you can do in your normal turnaround of 2 to 3 years, or even 5 years for that matter. When you do a ground up, it usually means you're throwing away everything else that you used to use and starting with new stuff. And that tends to take time. But looking back at it, I think maybe doing that ground up, even though it wasn't a full ground up to some extent, but I think if they had targeted like they did the tire model, rescanning a lot of the tracks, if not all tracks, making that a mandatory thing from start, and updating the most complained about earlier models that were carryovers from Motorsport 1 through 4, I think they probably wouldn't be in this situation. But hindsight being 2020, it's a little late for that. And I think the big thing that I'm pissed off about with Xbox and I won't say Xbox. I'm more pissed off at Microsoft to force this kind of cut, because it doesn't seem like it's well thought out. And the reason why I say that is there's no contingency plan for those that have paid for a game that's an online game. And I know it's not legislation here in the States yet, but there's that whole, don't kill games kind of thing that people are trying to get in the UK, where their government will probably, back the consumer on stuff like that. And it's going to hurt them over there. Not that game did gangbusters over there, but it's definitely going to come back to bite them. But with that being said, I made my post on social media. It's time for whoever's left keeping the lights on to start considering mod support. And that's probably been my biggest gripe with the Turn 10 team in general, is that they were so stubborn on certain things being said a certain way. It always limited or walled the garden around their game to never grow past what it was in its heyday kind of thing. when you do mod support, like a game like Assetto Corsa, and that game is what, 8 or 9 years old. Assetto Corsa Evo is in early access now, but that's probably one of the biggest sim game engines out there that people mod, and it grows based on that because of mods being accepted or somewhat supported. When you have that, sure, people might buy the bargain bin version of your game. Some people might pirate it as well, but they're going to do that anyway. I think you open yourself up to see more interaction, and that's probably the biggest thing that they were missing, because you only get one chance to make a first impression, and Motorsport out the gate was not. I'll be honest, other than visuals, it was not up to par to what 7 was. So it was like a step back. Now, handling, they definitely improved. The visuals, they definitely improved. But if the core of the game is missing certain key tracks, missing certain cars, missing certain modes or functions, that's not a good look for something that's at that point. I think it was 6 or 7 years from the previous title releasing. So with that being said, you were never going to see the level of engagement. Now, I applaud their team for getting it to the level it is now, which is vastly improved over its launch. But once again, people weren't coming back to it. Some people were doing like the test stuff behind the scenes to see if they could give feedback. But if you're not going to listen to certain feedback that might actually help the game grow, then you're doomed yourself, and this is the result. But I'll leave it at that. I don't want to get too much more into that.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Just other than the fact that they I won't say they brought it on themselves, but essentially they brought it on themselves. But Microsoft didn't help things with looking at percentage numbers and we got to put a certain amount of money into AI, and we need to take some of these salaries off the table and whatnot. But like looking at the initiative, I always thought it was weird because there's the saying, too many cooks in the kitchen. From get-go, that I would say to some extent it was doomed in that regard. Getting all of that high talent in one roof without really having somebody early on as the designated leader that can work with all of those talented people. But all of that being said, when people left and Drew put in the thing to get Crystal Dynamics, if that didn't turn things around within 6 months, that should have been the end of it. I think they spent more time, giving them time, which I applaud them for giving other games within their fold that are in development more time to polish things out and make sure that the games come out in a good state. But I think they probably extended a little bit too much. And whether that's something because kind of like along the side with Pong, whether it's Booty not being there on a regular basis or having other pit bulls within that leadership fold, they're checking on the dailies or checking on, the executables and making sure that they're meeting deadlines, or how far are we behind the deadline? Do we need more contractors? Do we need this? What do you need? And then if you're not meeting the next deadline, then we got to start rolling stuff back. And I think that's something that I hate to say. There needs to probably be meaner people in the leadership to some extent, because that's what's going to fire people. Well, not fire people, but that's probably the wrong word. But that's going to get people motivated to get off their butt and get things going. Because I think part of the other problem, and this is more industry wide, I think, not just Xbox focused, but the whole anti-crunch, I think, is part of the problem. Because the example, looking at Rare, hey, they're partying, they're doing this, and well, who's working on the game? Who's checking on them working on the game? Why are they, this far along, where they said early on after the first showing that they didn't know what the game was as far as the player loop or the game loop type of thing? if it took more than 2 years, that should have been something killed earlier on. Like that should have been killed at the earliest of the series console launch type of thing. But that's, I don't know. It's easier to do this, like, armchair quarterback kind of stuff. But
yeah,
but it's
we don't have all the info, so
yeah, it just feels like in some cases they're doing great by giving teams more time, and then in other cases it's like that's a team they probably should have been, boot on neck. Like, no, you're going to have this deadline met, or we're sending you home. It's plain and simple. And I don't know. It feels weird that Rare only has to worry about one game, but then again, there are other studios, much like Turn 10 and Halo Studios now, that only focus on one game. Now, could they have multiple projects? Sure, but that's and I don't say that Rare should have been the one that's closed. We don't need another Lionhead scenario, but it's just weird to me that certain things dragged on, but then we hear something like the Bethesda Online deal, and I said it before. I was like, hey, they already did the high fantasy, they already did the post-apocalyptical. Hey, why don't they do something that's like kind of cyberpunk and Blade Runner like? And sure enough, that's what the hell they were working on. It feels so bad that's never going to see the light of day. It sucks. And this AAA industry, I don't know if it's ever going to fix itself. The last time they ran into these types of issues, it took a crash to fix things. And I'm hoping that's not what it takes this time around, but it looks like that might be the necessity, because we can't get the casual off of these live service games. And live service games are what I would say, the people that are complaining about Game Pass and all that stuff, look at live service games. That's your problem. That's the problem with the industry, because nobody's buying a new game. Well, I wouldn't say nobody. Hardly enough people, when you have billions of gamers, hardly enough people are buying the games. They're playing these free to play, or they already bought the game, like Destiny or whatever, and they keep on playing it 5, 6, 7 years later. They're buying seasons, and that's great for those games, but it hurts all other games. And occasionally you'll get that standout like your Grand Theft Auto, but that's going to probably be another one that, if some of the stuff I'm hearing about the what do you call them, the whole role play aspect, that's probably going to kill some of these live service games. I nearly bet you either Fortnite falls or Call of Duty falls. One of them will be gone when Grand Theft Auto does their role play stuff, but we'll see. But I think there's going to be a lot more turmoil, not just at Xbox, but at other places for that very reason. People need to stop looking at Game Pass as the culprit and look at live service. I mean, how much money has Sony thrown in the toilet over live service between cancellations and studio closures?
And the funny thing about you saying all of this, and I just want to highlight this, we all four of us understand this, and I'm sure everybody in the chat, every company has its own problems. Yes. Every company has these issues that they don't all look the same though. This is something that Xbox is having to deal with. What PlayStation is going through, they just canceled like 10 of the 14 live service games that they said they were bringing. That's atrocious. Yeah. That is atrocious. That would never happen to old PlayStation. So every company has to deal with these things that they, these changes, and they have their own hurdles.
Oh yeah. And it sucks that, Xbox is that poster child right now. Whether it's because of their parent company, Microsoft, being, Daddy Warbucks out there. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. Microsoft has a target on its back in this industry for the fact that they are the rich kid with, unlimited funds, but they're not using those unlimited funds in the way we would see things fit, or even things that make sense in some cases. I mean, sure, AI makes sense, but I just feel a lot of the stuff that these companies are going for with AI is like the next 3D TV. I don't feel a lot of it's going to make any more sense than, stuff that they're doing now. Like, okay, an AI home might make sense as far as, oh, I can automatically have the house know without me having to tell it, or maybe I remind it every so often to lock the doors, turn the lights off, close the blinds. Like that's where AI I see being its biggest leaps and bounds, or knowing what shows you want to binge without you having to search for it. So something dealing with Netflix. Hey, you just watched all of the episodes of was it Star Trek New Frontier? Hey, check out Picard, or check out, these other sci-fi things. Like I could see AI being that. I mean, they already kind of have that to some extent with the algorithm, but it's I think Microsoft is throwing good money after bad, just like they did with maybe the phones weren't good money after bad, but how they treated it or how they stuck to it or stuck with it, that's where the problem is. So we'll see how that all pans out. But sucks for everybody that lost their positions. I had one knucklehead in my DMs talking about, oh, they only let go of the crappy people. It's like,
get out of here, bro.
No. Typically, companies look at numbers, and sometimes your most talented people are your highest paid employees, and usually those are the ones that get cut. Well, if there are multiple ones, you might leave one behind, because then now everything's going to fall on their neck, and the other high incomes are going to be let go. But yeah, this industry sucks in the sense of the volatility. I don't see any amend of it. Hopefully AA steps up even larger for these next few years while AAA, figures their shit out. I mean, other than making money for shareholders, eventually they'll get something figured out that works for them, because this hire, ramp up, and then fire everybody, even if the game does well, and then hire some of them back for the next project. At some point, you got to come to an equilibrium and just say, instead of going from 200 to 500, why don't we just have 350 employees the entire time and work with that, and not be dilly-dallying around, until like the last couple of years of a project. Just have everybody go at it hard from day one to, year 5 of that project. But that to me sounds more of like a management problem type of thing. So we'll see how things wind up, but it sucks. I'm still excited for Xbox games. Hardware, I'm a little, I wouldn't say perturbed, but not as excited as I once was. As far as particular games like racing sim games, well, I guess I can always hope Gran Turismo comes to PC again. I could care less if it comes to Xbox. That to me doesn't make sense. But then again, it might make sense for Sony. Yeah. So you know what? Sony, put it on Xbox and sell a few more million copies on there. But upside down world. It just feels weird right now. I've rambled enough. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. No, you're good. You're good. No, so once again, I think that just to kind of put a bow on this topic, and shout out to everybody in chat. I appreciate all you guys hanging out with us, man. First show back, you guys hanging out. Hope you guys are enjoying this yourself here. But yeah, basically the gist of this is we don't know what the fuck is going to happen anytime soon. We're all just going to continue to play games and hope for the best. I've already settled on the best thing I can do is just continue to do what I always do, buy games, play games that I enjoy, support the devs that make the things that I like. You know what I mean? Try and be as vocal as I can when I need to, but just be a gamer. We just got to ride the wave, brother. Like that's basically what we got to do, or get off. You do have options, and thank God we do have options. You can go play another system, you can go another ecosystem, go to PC, Nintendo, PlayStation. So people have options, and I always say, Pong Fuzz, Mav, that at the end of the day, as a consumer, you make a choice. If this company no longer gives you what you need or want or things that you enjoy, then you have a choice that you have to make, just like everybody else. You can, and the good thing is that you do have other choices. So, and I do want to highlight something else too before we move on, because I want to talk about the Helldivers 2 coming to Xbox as well. I guess one of the silver linings out of this situation is that the fallout of all of these people losing their jobs is that I hope some of this talent is able to coalesce and create games that they've always wanted to, because there's extremely talented people that got laid off. And I hope some of these people find each other, because like Pong was saying, you don't need a $50 million budget to make a great game anymore. Expedition 33 just came out, and it's probably going to win Game of the Year, and 33 people made that game on a damn prayer and a hope that it would be good. You know what I mean? A lot of passion, a lot of talent. So I hope that some of this talent can coalesce, find each other, and we can still get other games or, because let's be honest, a lot of that talent may have had ideas but been strapped because the people up at the top don't want to hear about their ideas, right? So some of these guys are sitting there working on other games that they're not even passionate about. They have other things that they want to do. And so now you're free from that. Now, not trying to put a good spin on being laid off, but essentially, sometimes talent comes together and like we get better things out of it. So hopefully down the line, we hear about other studios being made like, oh, this studio of former, Turn 10 devs, they made their own racing game, Fuzz, right? Like they decided to do something different. So hopefully we do get things like that in the near future, right? So that's what I'm hoping for down the line.
Hey, before we move on, PTK, I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Like, do y'all think, just in general, that the reaction is a little bit just geared towards Xbox specifically, is a little bit like maybe overreaction comparatively to the future of the brand and what's going on with Xbox? Because I mean, this has been like an industry-wide thing the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I know it hits hard all at once with Xbox when they have a couple things, but if you really look at the net of it, just when it comes to Xbox itself, right?
Yeah.
And how it affects us and the pipeline of everything we have to look forward to and the games and hardware, all that other kind of stuff that they're working on. Like we lost Perfect Dark, we lost his NMX Online game. We lost some other games we didn't know about, and we found out about one being the Romero game, right? But if you also compare that to a lot of the other things that have been going on in the industry with a lot of other publishers, those are things that have been happening all these other places too, as these companies are kind of streamlining and contracting, is something that we've all been kind of talking about for a while. Because it sucks for us to not be able to play some of these games now. But overall, like the direction forward of Xbox, it seems like I see a lot of reaction on Twitter and everything is like Xbox is officially dead, or like, that's all that Jez make a post about Satya where a month ago he's like, next year's the 25th anniversary. We're gonna have lots of games, we're making hardware, we're doing this stuff, and he's like, it's aged badly, and we're like, is that like
people are
I understand like layoffs are a horrible
No.
thing, right? I'm not trying to just diminish that, but it doesn't diminish what they're doing for the future of Xbox either for me. And I just see that as in like, hey, their Xbox is finally dead, when this is to me more of like a larger industry and not just that, but Microsoft as a whole making this move, not specifically saying Xbox is
but that's
right?
the problem though. That I think that's the piece that amplifies this, Mav, is it's Microsoft.
Yeah, but that's always
and
been
you
the
can't
case.
yeah, but it's different. But gaming is no longer the popular kid at Microsoft. Okay, gaming is no longer that. For whatever,
has it ever been?
Yes, it was. Pandemic, absolutely it was. The checkbooks was open. It was a free for all. They could have had anything they wanted to. That's how they got the ABK. That ABK was the biggest purchase of Microsoft history. Like that they were the belle of the ball, right? That's no longer the case, and this is the history of Microsoft that people point to. Now, again, I'm not saying this like personally. Am I less sure that they're going to do hardware? Yes, I am less sure. They announced that with AMD. The announcement doesn't mean anything. If Microsoft wants to pull out, they will pull out. Pause, but they will do that, right? Microsoft don't care. They bought Nextel in less than 18 months, shut down after one of their biggest purchases of all time, and stopped making cell phones. They don't care, and that is the problem, is the parent company, right? When you look at Sony, right, their main breadwinner is PlayStation for the most part.
And Nintendo only makes Nintendo stuff.
And Nintendo only makes Nintendo, right? And then everybody else that we talk about, that Mav, you're talking about how everybody's kind of going through this. You're absolutely correct. Of course you are. Again, we've been discussing this for over 2 years now. Everybody else is going through it. But it is different because Xbox to Microsoft, they could go full third party, close down another let's say a third or 2/3 of their studios and let everybody go and still be a third-party publisher and still produce a lot of games and be a cute little software company again, right? And for Microsoft and their shareholders trying to get to a $5 trillion valuation, at some point they might look at Xbox again and ask the question, why are we in gaming again? And I think that's the thing, because of how quick everything has changed, shows that Microsoft on a dime, because of who they are, because of how much money they have, they don't care. They absolutely don't care.
Yeah, I just don't see like this specific move as in that drastic of a change.
But it is.
I don't know. I don't think it is.
I think that's an individual thing, Mav, and I think that's what everybody's struggling with. We don't all play games for the same reason. We don't all care. Listen, and this is why I know I agree with you, Pong, to a point, because guess what? The same day that all of that happened, I turned around to my son who's playing Xbox right now behind me. I turned around to my wife who's in the room playing Xbox, and I asked them, they don't even give a shit about none of this stuff.
No,
like I told them, like all this stuff is happening. They're like, okay, can I still play the game? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, cool. So, and that's the majority of people that come home and turn on their Xboxes every day aren't even aware of any of this shit. If we're being 100% honest, that's us. So I think this is an individual thing. It feels much larger than it is when you get in social media. We're all like-minded. Our social media feeds are curated to show us all of these different things, and people that are around us that think like we do, or don't even think like we do, but just think in the same space that we do. So I think a lot of it's that. But in reality, man, the reality is completely different. I agree with you to a point, Pong, but like the fact that most people aren't even gonna be aware that any of this happened. Like they're not even gonna know about this stuff.
Yeah, because
as long as they can come home and turn on that Xbox and it still boots up and says live, they're going to be fine. Now, until the bottom completely falls out of this, and they say, "Hey, we're doing what you just said, Pong. Like, you know what? We're gonna drastically shrink Xbox, and we're going to put out 3 games a year. We're going to make them just a small public." Then at that point, yeah, maybe people start to take notice. But something like this, most people aren't even aware that this happened.
Yeah. For me, I think it's like Xbox is getting the spotlight on it, but like this was a Microsoft massive layoff situation.
Correct.
Right. And we could look at every single division of Microsoft and like, oh, they're not interested in that anymore. They're not interested in that anymore. Not interested in that anymore. Because they all felt the brunt of this.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But like, and yeah, like with Microsoft and big tech and any of these companies, things can change on a dime. And like, that's nothing's ever a given. But ultimately, I'm just looking still at the net of what happened here. We lost a couple games and we lost a studio. And like overall, they're still producing a ton of games. They still are working on the hardware. Like now. But like I have no reason right now to question that they're not doing that.
But I could argue you should, Mav. Like I
because they made layoffs though. Like I don't know. I don't. For me, like there's nothing different about their direction than it was before. We all knew
they were going to make a handheld. That's done. Like this is a Mav. It was only 4 games. Remember, it was only 4 games.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, it's a pattern. Again, whether we knew it or not. Again, we were out here going, it's not going to be 4 games. What I'm saying is we're more like PTK is explaining. We're more informed, right? We're more in tune, so we look at this stuff. So we see the big picture. But that's what I'm saying is like how this has been progressing, it should give you probably a little pause as somebody who has been through this, like to go, well, this is getting progressively, like it's deteriorating progressively. Like they've gone from at the beginning of the generation to now, like almost full third party. I mean, it is full third party, but I'm just saying that how they've progressed to this point, they keep pulling the plug on things. They keep changing what they're going to do. Right. And so I would just argue that
leads us right back to square one. Everybody got a choice to make, Pong.
Oh,
Thank God there's other options.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day,
right.
Even if it progresses that, and I agree with, I'm not saying you're wrong, Pong, at all. I don't believe you're wrong at all, brother. You know what I mean? So
I could be completely wrong, and everything could just level out here, and they could just move forward the way that they've talked about, and everything could just be fine. There could be no more layoffs at Xbox. the 40 plus projects that they have currently, which Mav is absolutely correct. And again, we talked about this. They got a massive amount of projects. Those could all come out. We could be seeing next gen hardware, like I predicted at the end of the year at the Game Awards, ready to launch in 2026, right? That could all happen. I'm just looking at this now and how quick we kind of rolled to AI. If that's true, and there's a lot of smoke that it is true, okay, now we need to pull funding from everybody, including Xbox, who we just invested 80 or over $100 billion into over the past 5 years. We're going to pull funding from you guys too. You guys got to make cuts. Like, I just look at that and go, yeah, we're back to the big tech, Microsoft, and Xbox is kind of pushed to the wayside again, and they are going to look, and they got quantum computing is up next. They're investing heavily in quantum computing. That's going to be even more expensive than AI. Like there's things that I just see. Anyways, I've talked enough.
Listen, you and to be fair, we're all different. You know, Pong, you're a bit of a pariah because you see patterns and you're already looking, you know, maybe a year or two down the line, and that's fine. And listen, patterns mean something, right? Like that doesn't mean nothing when these things are happening consecutively. So I'm with you on that, Pong. And just to address Umber 2 in the chat, listen, Umber, I'm never for layoffs, brother. Like I'm not absolving them of I'm not absolving them of that at all, brother. Like there's no excuse for that. There's no absolving them for laying off that many people. I just understand why it happened. That's the only difference. Like I understand why that had to happen. You know what I mean? So listen, it's not good. It could have been in any industry. It could have been, I don't know, the bakery industry, the car industry. It doesn't matter. Layoffs suck all the way around the board, brother. I also understand why that probably was necessary and why it needed to happen, because it's been happening. And like they talked about contraction and it's just a pattern, unfortunately. So I get it, brother. I'm not on the layoff side. We don't do that. Not over here, brother. But, Anyway, so great points, fellas. Once again, this is something at the end of all of that, we come to the conclusion that we just gonna play it out. We just kind of got to let this thing ride out the rest of the year, see what happens. Now, are people going to be apprehensive going forward? Probably. There'll be some groups that may not be as happy about Gamescom or some of these announcements that they probably have coming up, VGAs, things like that. But I'm choosing to still be, because things are okay for now. That might sound like do I sound like a battered victim or something like that? Is that a bad analogy? Because I'm like, just things are okay for now, so I'm gonna stay around. But like
right until the wheels fall off. That's what I said. I mean,
that's all I can do.
That's what I'm going to do as a consumer. Yeah, they're still making more. They're still making more games that I want to play on Xbox than Nintendo or Sony. I'm going to continue to play those games.
I will say this, like to your point, Pong. Like the one thing I could see them doing, like they did with the handheld, is if they decide that they're
third party.
If they decide that their ecosystem that they build works great enough on third-party devices, that they don't necessarily need a dedicated box that they manufacture themselves as a hardware company. That if everything is an Xbox thing, works out so well that, you know, that's where they're making their money in the storefront anyway, right? They're not interested in making money too much on hardware. Like if that really does work for them, then they don't really even need to have a Xbox if everything else recreates.
They'll have other people make it. Yeah,
exactly. I could see that, which is I think why they made the decision with the handheld. Right. I think they had good momentum with what they were building there, and I think they feel that it's going to go well, and there's going to be all these competing devices with that same software, and it's like, why make our own dedicated when you know we have all these other manufacturers making these and we can support those. So like I think that was more of a partnership thing with that side, but I could see the same thing happening in the future with hardware. But to me, does that mean Xbox is dead or Xbox isn't? Like right now, I'm feeling like my PCs are becoming more Xboxes as they are. Like the one I have one hooked up in the bedroom that like I just go to the Xbox app, you know, even on the cloud, I go to the Xbox app on there too. Like it's just like, hey, these things really the experience keeps evolving and improving to where I am getting that Xbox experience in these other places right now. So if that continues to improve, man, like, you know, and I think that's what the direction they're headed in. So
I mean, because if we look at it objectively, Pong, Mav, Fuzz, we've talked about this, previously. They were having a good year. They still are having a good year. If you looking at it from just strictly gaming standpoint, they've had a great 25 outside of the news, a few days ago. Like, they've pretty much delivered. All the games came out that should have come out, right? Everything came out basically on time. Nothing was crazy broken. There was no crazy delays. The shows were very good. From the developer direct all the way through the actual showcase, that those were all good. So by all regular standards, they have been doing very well. And I think we've all gave them kudos for that. So I think the whiplash as well too, Mav, from that versus the news is just so two opposite ends of the spectrum, and it's hard to deal with that when we've all felt like they've been doing such a good job, right?
Phil said it in his letter. I hate those freaking letters. Because that's, again, that line that he used, I know that we're, doing better than ever with more project, but we got to let you go. Bro, I hate those letters, but that's the case point that you're making right now. That is kind of that, like you said, it's such a whiplash situation, because you do look at what they're doing, and we thought they were, again, they were growing exactly the way that they wanted to, that all this third-party stuff was working, number one sellers on PlayStation Store, all this stuff was working, and then all of a sudden you got this, and it's like, holy shit, what? What? Anyways, sorry. We got we spent long enough on this. It's a big topic.
Yeah, we're gonna turn the page on this a little bit, man. Shout out to everybody watching, Fuzzy Tomato, Decado, everybody coming in, hanging out with us. I appreciate you guys' support. You guys are freaking amazing, man. But I want to turn the page a little bit. Want to talk about Helldivers 2 coming to Xbox. Now that happened. It wasn't the same day. It was the next day, right? We got that. Correct. We got that announcement Thursday. The very next day after that news. Probably timed it perfectly. I'm sure Phil was like, "Hey man, we need that tomorrow. Put a rush on that. Put a rush on that announcement. I know you was gonna do it next week, but we need that ASAP. We need something." But either way, it's a really cool out of the blue announcement. We didn't know that this was going to happen. And this some people weren't happy about it on the other side of the fence about Helldivers 2 coming over, but once again, it's another feather in the cap, right? Is this a transition PlayStation is also making? Now, some people are starting that process as well. Is PlayStation starting to dip their toes into the multi-platform and put games everywhere? They already are starting to embrace PC more, although they're not putting games day and date. They've kind of doubled down on that with the last news we got, but who knows if things continue to be successful for them on PC and other systems, and I know Helldivers 2 is pretty unique because PlayStation really didn't have much to do with the development of that game. I think they just was a marketing situation, correct? If anybody correct me here, if they actually helped develop that game. I don't think they did, right?
They were the pocketbook.
Yeah, pocketbook. Okay, so they did have some influence on the game. Okay,
yeah, they own the IP. So
got it. I just wanted to make sure. But so the game's coming over to Xbox. Perfect game. It's not going to be on Game Pass, full price, no problem with that. My kind of game for sure. But what do you guys? One, are you guys excited about Helldivers 2? And then two, what does this say about PlayStation? Is this another kind of dipping a toe in the water situation? I want to start with you on this one, Pong. I'm curious as to what you got to say about that.
Oh, on this? Yeah, I mean, I loved Helldivers 2. I put almost 50 hours in on the PC. We had a great time. Mav, Jasper, Steele, we all played it, and it's fantastic. It's the one game where you see the clips, the crazy clips online.
It's crazy. I watch them all the time.
Yeah, those aren't rare. Those aren't rare occurrences. Like, you have a good chance at having 1, 2, or 3 of those every single game you play in that game. It literally is the closest thing to playing in a B sci-fi movie that you will ever get. Like, it is fantastic, especially when you're playing with buddies. It works with randos too, but with buddies and communication and stuff, it is a ridiculously good game. As far as this goes, like, we've talked about it when there was rumors and smoke, and I've said forever, like, if they were, when that came about, like, I think we all agreed if there was going to be one game where they, Sony decided to try a straight up first party title, this would be the one that makes the most sense, because it is multiplayer and you do want the bigger base of people. That's what keeps these games going for even longer. This game has already sold 15 million copies. It is one of the, if not the, it is the biggest multiplayer game that Sony has had in decades, right? So this is their one success out of their whole games as a service initiative. So why not? At this point, it has sold what it's going to sell between PlayStation and PC. You've got an eager fan base on Xbox that loves multiplayer games. Why not drop it over here? And this is all co-op, right? It's PvE, although you can certainly, destroy your buddies in this game too, accidentally or on purpose if you really want to, which also becomes hilarious. But this is the perfect game for Xbox. Like, these are the types of games that live on Xbox and always have, is the dude bro shooter box, right? So this made the most sense out of all of them. It's still surprising because, like I said, if I had to bet, I thought Sony was going to hold it. But I think, to me, and I've talked about this week, this does show that I don't think it's completely changed internally for PlayStation, but I think that there is some erosion of the idea that Xbox is a competitor because of how Xbox is now, a third-party publisher, and they're putting their stuff everywhere, because they aren't really competing one for one anywhere. I think there is some loosening at PlayStation of that thought that Xbox is still a competitor. And I think that this is a good show. I think that they've seen the numbers internally from MLB, what can happen on Xbox. That was forced. That's why that one does not really count. This is actually a voluntarily given first-party title, which does make it different. Even if you want to move the goalposts and say, well, yeah, because they said they're going to put games as service everywhere. Okay, bullshit. That's not. Anyways, I think this is a good test bed for them to see how their game plays over on Xbox. And they put Nixus, again, that's the other shocking part of this. They put Nixus, which is their first-party porting studio. Everybody said Nixus was only acquired to do the PC ports. Well, now they're doing a console port. And I think that says a lot, that PlayStation is not just dumping it over on Xbox. They want it to be a good to great port on Xbox by putting Nixus on it, who has done really well with most of their PC ports. So I think that there is a lot to say here. I think this is a test bed for sure. And I think that as this attitude towards Xbox starts to kind of loosen up a little bit as Xbox continues to move into this, third-party publishing full time. I think that we could, and I'm not, again, pump your brakes, whole slate people. I know there's a bunch of you out there. Whole slate's coming now. Okay, pump your brakes. That ain't happening. But I do think, and I've said it before with the Switch 2, but I think that this now includes Xbox, that potentially games like Spider-Man 2018, the original God of War, those single-player tentpole games, could, because they've run their whole entire existence out. They are not selling PlayStations anymore. Those specific games are no longer selling PlayStation 5s or PlayStation 6 when they launch PlayStation 6, right? It's going to be the newer stuff. So I think potentially those games, those big boys, could show up. It's going to be 8 years, later. Like, who cares? 7 years later, all you're trying to do is get a few extra sales out of a freaking really old ass game that a lot of people enjoy. And I think that they could potentially get some of that single player stuff coming over. Now, who knows? Maybe there's been an entire Switch and they've been lying to everybody, and all of a sudden we're going to start seeing, Last of Us and Uncharted move on over because they just don't care anymore. I just don't think so, so I'm going to pump my brakes on the whole slate thing, but I think potentially this means that they open up a little bit.
To be fair, Sony has been just as unpredictable as Xbox this generation as well. They've been just as unpredictable. They haven't done anything that we thought Sony would normally do.
Outside of sell their consoles.
Outside of sell consoles.
That's what they've done. So, but yeah, I just think there could be a loosening. I think there could be potential for some more to come over after this. For sure. Yeah.
Good point. I agree. I think it's very interesting though, right? I think it's still very interesting that this game did come over. It's perfect though. Like you said, the one game that they could test, this is the one to throw out and say, this is, and it's it's not that it's run its course, but it's a game that like fits the Xbox ecosystem, right? Like perfectly, right? You think about co-op, you think about shooter, you think about online multiplayer, that fits the ecosystem perfectly. And
I'm happy for Arrowhead too.
I didn't think
Arrowhead's going to get more out of this. This
Listen,
is great. This is great for Arrowhead.
This is awesome for them. I can't wait if they decide to do a 3. If they do Helldivers 3 or they decide to do a new IP or something. Oh, it's going to be crazy.
They're going to do Helldivers 3 after this.
I wonder if they make it full multiplat if they decide to do a 3, if they are successful with this one coming over to Xbox.
Well, that's what the talk was. That's what the talk was, because they came out publicly and said their next game that they're making, they're open to working with Sony, but they're planning on self-publishing. So they were going to put it everywhere. They said They said it was going multiplat. They wanted to do the next one as multiplat. Whether that's Helldivers 3 or a new IP, we haven't found out yet. I'm sure there's somewhere that's starting to work on Helldivers 3, but a multiplat new IP. They want to put everywhere. So yeah, this is another step towards that. That's why I'm happy for Arrowhead, because people on Xbox now are going to know them as well. So I think it's all good all the way around, for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Fuzz, I want to go ahead and throw this over to you too about the Helldivers 2. Once again, another game coming over. You know, PlayStation doing something a little different, not very traditional. Although because it's Arrowhead, because of the type of game it is, it does fit a specific like situation in which like it would make sense for them to do this. Now I don't know if they allowed Arrowhead to do this, but based on how Arrowhead's talking, this is probably Arrowhead's idea. They probably said, hey, look, Sony, this is what we're gonna do. After about 18 months, about a year and a half, we're going to go ahead and port. This was part of the original plan anyway. Maybe we don't know that obviously, but what do you think about it coming over?
Well, I'm pretty sure there were conversations as far as the people over at Arrowhead saying to give the game more exposure, help with the longevity, that, porting it over there would make sense. Now, I don't think they had any ability to do the port themselves just because of the way the IP is owned. But I'm pretty sure that's where some of the smoke that we heard about and what Special Nick was talking about in regards to this game, because there was a couple of rumors about it coming over. And it's funny. I think Boom had made mention. It's like when they announced that they were going to do their next game was going to be self-published. Maybe that was a slap across the face to Sony. It's like, look, you don't want to do it? All right, well, we'll make our next game and put your game on, Helldivers 3 on the back burner while we, self-publish type of thing. I don't know if they were that bold, but I look at it as there's a hole over at Sony right now. And this fills that hole. That hole is Bungie. There is no Destiny 3. So if that's your multi-plat game that was bringing in decent revenue, that you still haven't paid off for the studio, you still haven't paid them off, and you're about to dissolve them or absorb them to some extent, why not have something that can kind of fit the bill in place of Destiny? I think it's more of that. I don't think this is a whole slate type of thing. I'll be pleasantly surprised. I think this is just a fix to replace what would be Destiny 3, because Bungie, I think they got a year, if that. And this is
so you think that this is essentially a stopgap. Like, hey, we know Bungie's floundering. We don't know what they're doing. They're trying to get things together internally. Marathon had to be reset. We don't even know when that's coming out, right? We don't have a date for that anymore, anything like that. So that I didn't consider that. This might be a stopgap. Like, like if this game does well on Xbox and, it sells another 1 million or 2 copies, like this could be that float we need to get revenue over. Yeah.
I think it's more of that. I hope I'm wrong, because I still would like Bungie to be around. Although the Marathon angle, I don't know how that's going to pan out. But yeah, it's awesome that this game is coming over. I already bought it on PC. I love the fact that it's going to be cross play all across. So you'll have a crew of possibly one person on Xbox, one person on PC, and one person on PlayStation, or 2 and one of each other platform, or maybe even the Switch 2 gets this. I doubt it, although the graphics can kind of be, at least for the character graphics, they could probably get it to work on the Switch 2. But it's great that this game is coming over. It's great that we already had MLB as well. I don't know if we get anything else outside of Marathon, but I don't think Marathon. I think it gets Blackbird. That's a pleasant way of putting it. I think Marathon doesn't see the light of day, and Bungie goes away, and Arrowhead would be a nice kind of pseudo replacement. Let's see if they give them an offer that they can't refuse to acquire them.
I don't know, man.
That would be a
think
little wild.
Arrowhead might like their autonomy, though, man. They might like their ability. Yeah, we got to deal with you for this specific game, but we're not like bound to you, like creatively or even financially. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, I know PlayStation's getting a good chunk of those 15 million plus sales, but like that's a lot of money Arrowhead just made for themselves, and I'm pretty sure that they're probably sustainable at this point, at least for the foreseeable future. And they're probably already thinking about whatever the next IP, whether it's Helldivers 3, or a new IP, right? So
yeah, whatever they made off of Helldivers 2, they could probably help fund and self-publish that project that they're going to be working on. But yeah, we'll see if more PlayStation stuff comes over, but it is pretty cool. I like what Pong was saying as far as with Xbox kind of not being a full-on one-for-one competitor. Maybe they do feel a way that, hey, well, it's not bad if we put it over there. I mean, that could be 500,000 to 5 million sales, or maybe 45 million sales, or however many series consoles are out there. But sales are sales, and I think at this point Sony's looking anywhere else they can get some extra sales outside of their own ecosystem. PC is probably their biggest focus still, but this one makes the most sense. It fits the Xbox Online genre of game that normally does well, and so many people have been on the Xbox side have been talking about this game since it was announced or since it's been released. A lot of us bought it on PC. I think this was a good move. I don't see any downside on this other than the ponies that are upset about it. But who knows? If more PlayStation games come over, like, think of it this way. If The Last of Us comes over, it's like our Fallout at that point. Sure, Fallout was always multi-plat, but you got a TV series, although I don't think the second season is doing as well as the first season did. But, why not have that game playable as many places as you can while the time is hot, while it's in the public eye for the series and stuff like that. So maybe that one's next, who knows? But it'd be cool to have more of them, that multi-platform aspect going forward. I would love for them to do dual entitlement on PC. That would be outstanding. But yeah, I know that's not in PlayStation's future, at least not for a while anyway. So we'll see if anything else changes.
All right. So I kind of want to throw this back to Pong real quick, because I got a question. Pong, I know Fuzz brought up that Bungie angle as far as Marathon and there being a big, huge hole. And then obviously we just talked about this. The plan was to have all of these live service games out the door, at least Concord, Fair Games, at least those out the door, and being able to have that reoccurring income. That was the plan. That, you know what I mean? That was the whole plan. So that gap that they have currently in the lineup, how much do you think that played into the Helldivers 2 coming over?
Right. I would just lean into the fact that Sony's looking at maximizing profits right now. Like, and I think I whether or not, like, it certainly does, to Fuzzy's credit, it certainly does fill that role, obviously, with seemingly Bungie going to miss, when they planned Marathon was going to be coming out, and the fact that Destiny is obviously on its last legs with Destiny 2 at this point. It certainly fills that role, and I totally get where Fuzzy's coming from. I just think ultimately it comes into the play that with their failed games as a service initiative, with how many games they have canceled, something like a Helldivers 2, which is, again, their most successful multiplayer game in decades, like, they are just saying, hey, we've run the course on PC, we've run the course on PlayStation at this point, let's just get it over on Xbox and get an extra. Again, I'm not saying this thing's going to sell 5 million copies, but it gets an extra million copies. Like, again, that's money, right? It's at $40, right? After they're cut, you're talking about an extra $20 million. I think PlayStation is just looking at ways they can maximize those profits for the successful game, which they don't feel is a threat by putting it anywhere else. And I think Helldivers 2 fits that portfolio, that profile, I should say. And I think Fuzzy's correct. I think they're going to find a way to get it on Switch 2 eventually as well. And I think it will probably be possible to get it on Switch 2 with the DLSS and stuff, because I've seen the low settings on my PC when it was unfortunately crashing a lot when it first dropped, and I had to drop my it could probably run on Switch 2. I mean, again, the low settings were pretty freaking awful. So I'm sure they can get it done. But yeah, no, I just think this is maximizing profits for Sony at this point. But it does fill that role, and maybe that was like the pushing or the deciding factor when Marathon got delayed, and they kind of realized that Bungie was potentially on its last legs, that they said, hey, let's push it. Let's get Helldivers 2 over there. Maybe that was.
Yeah. No, good point. Mav. So Helldivers 2 coming over, big deal, obviously. I don't know if you played it, I assume. Probably on PC more likely, or even PlayStation maybe. But kind of what does it say for you? I mean, you excited about the game coming over, as well as what does it say about PlayStation, Arrowhead as well?
Yeah, it's a great game. I got I just checked. I have a little over 18 hours in it on PC. I played a lot with Pong, and Steel and Jasper right when it came out. Really good game. So happy that Xbox players finally get to play it. No reason to own a PlayStation anymore for anybody, since they're going completely full multi-platform. Yeah. It's like, why even own a PlayStation? What's the point? You play it on PC or play it on. Anyway, yeah, it's all ridiculous stuff that people used to say about Xbox when they first started putting games on PC. I don't see any of the same energy out there really for this, but I am happy regardless. I think that it's more games for more people, man. I'm like, hey, open the floodgates, put every game everywhere. That would be amazing. I don't think that's going to happen, obviously, but I'm kind of past the point of this whole idea of feeling special because my box is capable of playing something that your box can't. I just want to have an awesome device that can play every game, and I'd be super happy. PC is becoming more and more so that for me, especially with what Xbox is doing there. But yeah, man, Helldivers 2, I think it's going to get a boost. I think it's going to have a lot of players from Xbox dive in that are going to kind of get hooked on it for a while. So I think this game's going to have legs. I expect any other games of service games from this point forward, at least from PlayStation, to also go to Xbox, and also maybe some of their older catalog, and they'll probably start there. And then eventually, who knows, 6, 7, 8 years from now, like Pongs was saying, you never know. They could end up just doing what Xbox decided to do now, right? And that could be the future we're looking at next generation, when dedicated hardware is less of a thing, right? So I think this is kind of just the start of all of that, and excited for the players to get to play it, man. Play Helldivers 2 if you haven't. It is just a blast.
It's only $40. So
yeah,
it's a great price too. By the way, great. You're already getting there's a fuck ton of content as well already, so you're walking in the door with a bunch of stuff anyway. So, and a great game, runs great, looks great. It's super fun, chaotic as hell, but that's it built-in chaotic. It's supposed to be. Yeah, absolutely.
The ultimate trade too. You didn't mention it, PTK, but the ultimate trade between PlayStation and Xbox, both coming out on August 26th. Gears is the same freaking day. It literally is they worked out a trade. Hey, we'll give you guys Gears. You guys give us Helldivers. There's
no way
too.
that was on accident. I mean, it could have been accident. I'm right.
Well,
right?
No, but it
could have been a coincidence.
It makes sense because even though I'm going to play Gears day one, I do think there's probably a large portion of the Xbox players that say, "Oh, we've already played Gears and obviously it's Gears 1, and we've already had the Gears 1 updated, right, with the Ultimate." So a lot of Xbox players may not jump back into Gears day one, on that day. So why not have Helldivers 2 come out on that day? Because you're going to capture that audience. And obviously for PlayStation players, they've already got Helldivers 2, so they're going to be jumping into Gears, something they've never tried before. So I think it's a fair trade, and I think it actually the date kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then shout out to Fuzzy Tomato in the chat, man. He mentioned but now this is something interesting too. He mentioned he said it will sell millions if they do a Halo crossover. Now I don't ODST Shock Troop or something inside of Helldivers. They do a skin or even a actual Mjolnir armor skin or something like that as part of a just cosmetic thing. Oh my god, I wonder that could happen.
Yes. If it fits perfectly, everybody's already talking about it. So I'm sure Arrowhead knows. I'm sure they do.
You think? I mean, Chief's been all, he's been in other stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Stuff. Microsoft's put their characters everywhere. So again, Smash Bros and stuff. Why not? Yeah, give them the armor. Who cares? They don't let them drop it in there. It'll sell money. Yeah. Like they said, it'll sell. So go for it.
Yeah, day one ODST, we go crazy in that game for sure. Shock Trooper armor. Oh my goodness, that'd be insane. So no, it's a great. I haven't obviously played it. You three have played it. I haven't played it, but I've watched a fuck ton of clips and it looks amazing. I have so much fun. I'm so entertained watching people play it too, on Twitch and when it first came out and people were streaming it like crazy and. It just looks like a ball of fun.
Well, and they've updated it. They've added a whole new alien faction. It's ridiculous. We were playing it.
I know
when
it's
it
a whole
originally
new planet.
came out.
They got
it's a
super Earth.
They got cities. They got a whole planet. Yeah, you get to fight in a city now. That all that stuff was out. We stopped playing right when the first mechs dropped, and the mechs didn't even work properly because you couldn't turn and fire at the same time. Otherwise, you'd blow up the mech. They were still working through that. That's how long it's been. But this whole new alien faction, the whole new cities, all this stuff, they've got so many more stratagems now, which are the things that you throw out that you can call down ordnance and stuff. They've got all brand new shit. They got all brand new weapons. It is insane how much that game has already grown. It is so dope.
The Halo
and
weapons in there too.
Yeah, you could put Halo weapons in there. They come up with Halo stratagems and everything. You could do all that. You could do Gears. You could do Gears of War armor easy, bro. Easy.
You talking my language, Pone.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it makes so much sense in that game. Like I said, all I will say is anybody who's on the fence, go buy it for $40. It is worth it because again, the videos are not rare moments. It's not like only in Battlefield moments where one person pulls off some ridiculous shit in Battlefield, right? And then posts it. That stuff just happens normally when you watch those videos. That is a normal everyday occurrence when you're playing Helldivers 2. It is insane. It is wild. It's so much fun.
Awesome. So I know we're kind of over those particular topics, but I want to ask you guys to kind of wrap up the show here. There is a quick topic. It is Halo related. I just reminded myself us talking about this crossover potentially, and that's Halo obviously making an announcement that we'll be getting some more information at the Halo Championships, like the MLG, I believe, tournament, the professional tournament is taking place. I kind of want to get you guys' quick opinion on that because if it's Halo, the next Halo game related, if it's not just multiplayer related or something, then wouldn't you think that they would maybe there's Gamescom coming up, you got VGAs, or is it why do you think they would choose to make that announcement at that event? So I mean, this is kind of an open question.
I'm first off, I'm just ready for some new Halo news. Me
too.
So it's been a while. We've had the announcement of the Unreal thing where they showed us a glimpse of the engine and stuff. But when they said that, I think it was going to reveal what we're working on or something like that is what the reports were. That hopefully it's a new game reveal. That would be amazing if it's just a full-fledged new game reveal. I don't care where it's revealed. It'll be a big deal when that happens.
Yeah.
And it could be, they could decide, your question was why do it there? It could be to actually kind of trying to draw attention to the whole event as well. You know what I mean? That could help, bolster the event and a little bit, draw more attention there. And that's also probably full of the most diehard Halo fans. So, you're going to get a bigger reaction. Right. So, as far as how they present it and how they do that kind of stuff, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Obviously, I'd like to have it at a showcase, but they've done this before. I remember even Bethesda, when they announced Doom 2016, it was a Doom 2016, I think, when they revealed it for the first time. It was at
BlizzCon?
it was at the QuakeCon.
BlizzCon.
Yeah, it's at
QuakeCon.
QuakeCon
That's what I
because
meant,
yeah.
Sorry.
And they did it there, and I mean his reaction was huge. I remember when Killer Instinct was revealed for the first time. It was done at like an Evo or a different fighting game competition place, and the reaction was insane. It was massive. So hopefully this means they're revealing a new Halo game. And if they're doing it at a tournament, I would think they would potentially lead with something multiplayer focused. And this may not be the next big Halo game. Maybe this is something else that is driven towards competitive online play. You know what I mean?
So you think maybe like a new? Well, I mean, I'm not. We don't even have to elaborate on all of it. You just got, as you're talking, my wheels are turning.
Could be battle royale. Could be that thing.
That's what I was
thinking. Some other version, or
could it just be the remake
thing? Could be. It could be as well.
Like a UE5, like the remake in UE5,
right?
Or no,
right? Halo.
Could be any of those
Halo,
things.
CE.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be the next big story based game.
But that's what I was thinking though. And that's why I asked a question about that event, because that doesn't seem like, although there's diehard Halo fans there, that doesn't feel like the event to make some big Halo story announcement, like mainline announcement. But you could. I mean, it's not the wrong place, but
we were talking about ODST for Helldivers. What about an ODST based shooter?
Oh, I'm down for anything ODST.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on. You already know.
What about a third person ODST based tactical shooter, man? Like set in like a futuristic setting of like New Mombasa or something with also some PvE elements thrown in there.
Yeah. You speaking my language.
Sign me up.
Yeah. That sounds awesome right there. And maybe you get some call-ins for support, and you can call in like a Spartan to come and like lay waste for a little while.
Are you cooking now, Mav?
Let's go. Let's do it.
I just know. I mean, like you said, any Halo news is good news. It's just like, I just wanted to ask this question. So Pong, like anything about, I mean, I don't know how much you've thought about it, obviously with stuff going on this week, but like, like anything you might think of that announcement maybe?
No, like I said, I've always, I guess the most I thought about it was just that most likely like a remake coming everywhere again to PlayStation as well. And I think that that makes sense for there, because I do think if it was an actual mainline brand new Halo game, I think you would save that for a showcase. Now, could they potentially like tease like the smallest sliver of tease of something new, and then just get it fired, get the rumor train fired up, get the hype train fired up for showcase season next year, or for maybe potentially the Game of the Year awards, the Keeleys at the end of the year? Yeah, I think they could flash something like real quick, like we've seen that before, and just get everybody talking. But I think ultimately, I think it's probably most likely the remake, and then it's going to go everywhere, just like Gears. And I think that's the next step for Halo as well, to get that out the door at least, and get everybody excited about Halo again, because that will draw excitement, and then show off whatever they're working on, maybe next showcase season. I think that's ultimately the way I would probably do it, but we'll see.
All right, Fuzz. Yeah, I don't know how much you've thought about that, but what do you think about that potential Halo announcement at the Halo World Championship?
See, I was wondering if they may have some sort of extraction shooter version project or something that's been quiet, and that's what they unveil. I mean, that kind of makes sense for the tournament. Although the remaster would probably be, I would say, more likely, because at least that one, there has been some smoke as far as that being in the works and stuff like that. So I hope it's something along those lines. I don't know if we get to see the next Halo or anything new particularly, but unless it is like an extraction shooter, which would be kind of funny, because then that goes to show that Halo Studios beat Bungie to the punch in releasing something along those lines. But I figure one of those two, an extraction shooter version of Halo, which I don't know exactly what that would look like, but either that or the remaster, because that would also be like you're now drawing more attention to the tournament, because there's going to be Halo fans, Xbox fans in general that may not have checked out the tournament normally, that are going to check it out just to see, something Halo related. I mean, people played Crackdown because of Halo, so it's like, I don't know. I let's see what they show, but extraction shooter or remaster, one of the two, or
I
both.
consider. Oh, it could. I mean, could be. I mean, I considered a new Halo game of some sort, right? Like I thought about that too. I don't even know who was the other. Was it Certain Affinity? That didn't that one get canceled that they were doing or no?
I think it was shelved. I don't know if they
Was it
We have
shelved?
no
canceled it.
idea. Yeah. We
Because
have no
that
idea
was-
because
that
we haven't
was the-
heard from Certain Affinity for a while. Like they have their own IP they've been working on, and they showcased it behind the scenes to people, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we haven't heard anything from that. But I do think it was probably shelved. So, but we didn't get
okay.
official confirmation.
Wait,
Right,
was
right,
Certain
right.
Affinities thing that survival game, or was that another?
Yeah, no, they were the ones that were supposedly doing the battle royale Halo.
Yeah, the battle royale.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what
yeah,
I
yeah.
But
thought.
was their own
Oh.
project the survival game, or was that people
No.
can fly?
That was people that can fly. Certain
Okay.
Affinities was supposedly like I think it was a first person shooter. I'm pretty sure,
Okay.
Multiplayer game, and so I'm pretty sure it's PvP. But people were excited that saw it behind the scenes. They did it behind closed doors, and nothing ever leaked as to exactly what it was. But I haven't seen anything from them since. So a little strange.
Interesting. Okay. All right, so I think we're probably gonna wrap things up on that note, man. Great first show back. Shout out to everybody that's been in chat hanging out with us. I appreciate you guys just getting back in the saddle. Feels good to be back, man. Feels good to bang out a 2-hour show. But it feels good to be back here with my brothers and everybody in chat, man. So I appreciate all of you coming to hang out with us. Make sure you retweet the link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is back. Okay, so we'll be doing this every Sunday. So you got to get used to that time again. But let me go around the panel here like I always do. Start with my brother Mav, my cousin. Appreciate you being back, being part of the first show back. We had some lot to discuss this week, but it was a great show either way, man. It's always fun, and this is why we still play video games. No matter what the fuck is going on, we get to do this, and this is part of it as well too, Mav. So thank you for being here, brother.
Oh man, it's a blast. I love hanging out with you guys. And yeah, we look forward to doing it again in the future, man. I'm glad you're back. It was weird not having Shop Podcasts on Saturdays for so long. Looking forward to listening every Saturday going forward, man. Sunday.
Sunday, yeah, you gotta get used to that.
Sunday. Come on down to the Shop Podcast with PTK. Yes, Sundays. And yeah, looking forward to being back also again on our channel, Fun Speculation, on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern with these gentlemen here, Pongsel, Fuzzy Belvedere, and anybody else in the Fun Spec fam that decides to come on and hang out for that Thursday night shows. But thanks, man. It's been a blast, and see you around.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Tell Kate I said hello as well too if she's listening or watching. Shout out to you, Kate.
PTK says hello.
Yeah. And the family as well. I hear in the background. I got those husband ears. I can kind of hear it. So we're good to go. Shout out to her though. Appreciate it. But yeah, you guys go check Mav. But you guys know Mav. Everybody in the chat, you guys know Mav. Do your due diligence. Go check Mav out if you haven't already. But appreciate you always being available, Mav. Appreciate you, brother. Love you so much. And my brothers, Fuzz, man, it was a good show. First show back after a long hiatus, but it feels good to get back, man. Get a consistent show in, and yeah, appreciate having you, man. Every single week, man. You always a steady rock, always here. So let everybody know where they can find you if they don't already know.
Well, just want to say this was awesome getting back together with the guys. Just love doing this. Glad we had Mav on here as well. Man, it's been a long time, but yeah, right back in the saddle. Like no rust, no cobwebs, nothing. So this was awesome type of deal. Thanks to everybody that came out and watched us. Greatly appreciate the support out there, guys. We love doing this and love interacting with you guys. Always appreciate the support. For those who want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. And then in about a half hour or so, me and 3-Bit will be doing Pixelated Echoes.
He was here too. Shout out to 3-Bit. He popped in here.
Yeah. So yeah, be talking more gaming stuff, and I don't know. I after all of the negative news from last week, I think there's just so much to look forward to, and regardless of what platform you're on, there's always something to look forward to. But still a lot of games in Game Pass. We still got Outer Worlds 2 coming later this year, and Grounded 2 at early preview. Although I don't know if I'll give it a try, but yeah, it's going to be an awesome next couple of years with some games. Unfortunately, some got canceled, but it happens. And like you said earlier, PTK, maybe some new studios come of it, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the worst of times lead to the best of times.
Mm-hmm.
A whole new studio formed, and maybe we get the next Expedition 33, but from Turn 10 devs or from whoever was left over at the initiative, type of deal. So we'll see. But as always, play games, have fun, try not get to get bogged down in the doom scroll on social media. And see you guys next Sunday.
Yeah, appreciate you, Fuzz. Yeah, man, that was a great piece of advice right there. So definitely take that nugget for sure, man. Just go have fun. That's what we all here for. But shout out to you, Fuzz, always being here, my brother. Appreciate you, man. You guys go check Fuzz out. All that information is down in the description. And last but not least, Pong, my brother. I love you, man. I love the energy. I needed that. I need it back, man. So I appreciate you being here, man. First show back after a long hiatus. Great show. We locked right back in like we never left, brother.
Yeah, it's great to get the schedule back to normal and get my weekends feeling normal again with a full slate. And yeah, it's part of my therapy, man. And I miss you guys. So when we don't get to do our shows, and obviously this was an extended break and you needed a PTK, and I'm glad that you're back, brother. And I'm glad you're feeling good. And I'm glad the family's doing well. And obviously, again, to hear my brothers, Mav and Fuzzy again, it's just starting to feel normal. So I love it, man. And chat, thank you all for showing up and coming back out and seeing us after such a long break. We appreciate you so much. And again, I hope to see more and more people jump back into us on Sunday night. But this was a great way to start it. Great week to come back. Easy to do a show. We could have gone for 4 or 5 hours like Steele on Saturday, Steele and I do on Saturday with this much news this week. So great to be here. Great to hear your voices. Everybody knows how to find me. Pong Soul everywhere. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Otherwise, Thursdays, like Mav said, we're back on the Fun Speculation Network. Mav has the lead chair as we're only doing one show. So I turned the chair back to him on Thursday night. So it's not quite PM in the PM because we have anybody in the family that wants to run through. They can roll on through the back door and join us. But we're still going to have a lot of great conversations on Thursday night. So join us there, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. And then, of course, Saturdays, it's 3+ hours with myself, my brother from another Steel, Rain, who has become a full Xbot after this last week. It was crazy, crazy, and crazy in the DMs. The defense was out, but no, we were having a little bit of fun with that on Living Split Screen yesterday. So join us every Saturday though. Living Split Screen, 3+ hours. Steel and I take you from your morning to your afternoon to your evening, depending on where you are in the world. We get the chat involved. We do a lot of conversating. So it starts there at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word every Saturday morning. And then, of course, back here next week, God willing, for a second episode back for the Shop Podcast. Otherwise, everybody, it's the golden age of gaming. Despite all the news, however you feel about it, never, ever in history had more games to play than we do right now, no matter where you play and what you play on. So please, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great start to your week and play what you love. Love what you play, and I'll talk to you all real soon. PTK, get us out of here, brother.
I appreciate you, man. And your boy PTK back. It feels good to be back, and I appreciate all you guys for showing up, man. Once again, this just goes to show how awesome this community is, and this is what why we're here. This is what we do this for. Like they mentioned earlier, despite everything, all of the changes, man, this is why we're here. So shout out to all you guys. The show is officially back. If you don't know, tell everybody the shop is back on, so you can expect this every Sunday going forward, man. But I appreciate you guys. Follow me everywhere. I even got a TikTok now, so go check that out. Your boy's on TikTok, so pull up and watch those videos as well. I try and get those out just about daily, at least Monday through Friday daily. I kind of take the weekend off to kind of just chill, but appreciate you guys. We will be back next Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your evening before the work week starts. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one.